Digital accessibility means giving equal access to online information and services. People with disabilities make up about 20% of the population at any given time. Not all of those disabilities affect a person's ability to use the internet, but a portion of that 20% will face some sort of challenge when using a computer. Let's look at three categories that are most often impacted by inaccessible websites. The first category is those with physical disabilities, like the inability to use their hands or arms, visually impaired, hearing impaired, etc. This category also includes those with blindness, low vision, color blindness, motor disabilities, and seizure disorders. For most, this is the group of individuals that come to mind when discussing website accessibility. However, two additional categories are often overlooked. The second group comprises those who don't consider themselves disabled. They may have a temporary condition, such as a broken arm or a recent eye surgery, or are simply in a situation where they need subtitles for videos so as not to disturb others. And the third category is anyone with a cognitive issue that may have difficulty reading or comprehending certain types or amounts of content. This group may struggle with distractibility, reading comprehension, dyslexia, or a number of other unseen cognitive challenges. Understanding who is impacted by inaccessible websites is a critical step before launching into how to fix it. It's important to pause here and state that the goal is to use accessibility to drive innovation. Compliance does not equate to a great user experience. Your creativity and commitment to accessibility will be the deciding factor in how we raise the bar for what customers expect when using our products and services. Inaccessible websites are not just inconvenient with people with disabilities, they are blocking. You have the power to make your product better by making it usable by all people and giving everyone equal access to information. Failing to make a website accessible has real consequences for real people. Inaccessible websites take away freedoms that people with disabilities would otherwise enjoy, reducing quality of life and making day to day tasks difficult or impossible. We must do our part to design a more inclusive and more welcoming experience for all our customers. It might seem obvious, but accessibility improves the user experience for everyone. Designing your site in an accessible way improves your website for users of all abilities by streamlining a website's navigational flow, providing greater ease of use, giving text clarity and improving readability, enhancing your website's responsiveness. Organizations also find that accessible websites often rank higher in search results, and compliance lessens the chance that you'll have a negative financial impact from noncompliance. As we discuss the best practices for website accessibility, we'll be using the four primary principles of accessibility as outlined by the Website Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, international standards. Those standards are perceivable. Information and user interface components must be presentable to users in ways they can perceive, regardless of ability. Number two, operable. User interface components and navigation must be operable. This means we must ensure all features are accessible by keyboard, not just by mouse, and compatible with any and all assistive devices. Number three is understandable. The information and the operation of the user interface must be understandable by all audiences. And number four is robust. Content must be robust to be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of users, including those using assistive technologies. In short, let's make it easy for users to succeed. Now, lastly, in this category are the key requirements for websites. The bottom line here is that organizations are responsible for ensuring their digital platforms are accessible. If it isn't, you could be breaking the law. Many people just think about accessibility as a physical form. If you operate in a physical location, you've likely thought about accessibility issues such as installing ramps for wheelchair users or allowing service dogs inside your physical space to assist someone who is visually impaired. However, often the digital side of accessibility is overlooked, leaving users with disabilities shut out, isolated, and frustrated. Just as you've prioritized ensuring users can safely access your physical front door, you must also ensure that they can enter your digital front door, your website. There are three types of laws around website accessibility: civil, procurement, and industry specific. We'll touch on these here very briefly, but I do encourage you to look these up and familiarize yourself with each of the areas. The first is the ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, which prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in employment, transportation, examination courses, and other service public accommodations. The ADA applies to private entities, and essentially, this is everyone with the exception of religious and private clubs. It's enforced by people filing complaints. And while it does not specify websites at this time, it's highly anticipated that it will include such language in the near future. Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act requires the federal government to take accessibility into account when procuring information technologies such as websites, telephones, copiers, etc. This applies to the government, but also to anyone selling to the government. And last but not least, we have the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act. This requires advanced communication services and products to be accessible, including video communications. Perhaps of greater significance to web developers, all video programs presented with captions on television must also be presented with closed captions on the internet.